Good evening. It is January 26th, and welcome to Cape Media News, your source for hyperlocal news that matters. I'm Lauren Williamson. Local developers in Dennis are proposing a construction project to build 20 new townhouse-style condominiums under the state Chapter 40B affordable housing law. At the Dennis Select Board meeting on January 23rd, town planner Paul Foley gave an update on the current status of this project.
So right now, as you just mentioned, we're in the comment period. A week from tomorrow is the site visit. And then we have till February the 9th, a Friday, for our comments. Now, presumably they'll read the comments and take some time and consider some of our concerns. Obviously, people have different opinions about it, but once they get a site eligibility, the applicants, I'm not sure how long that will take. From February 9th, presumably it won't be right away, but I would imagine it could be fairly soon thereafter. The applicants will then be able to apply to the ZBA. Once we get an application at the ZBA, we have 30 days to begin the public hearing, which isn't really that convenient because we usually just meet once a month. It might not fit in that, so we might have to have a special ZBA. We want to advertise it, but then we have 180 days to conduct the public hearing. Now, it may not take that long, probably won't take that long, but that's a good amount of time. The ZBA has 180 days, so the first thing they'll want to do is probably ask for peer reviews of the traffic, at least, possibly other areas, environmental, water, wastewater. I think wastewater is a key one. So we'll have 30 days to start the public hearing, 180 days to conduct the public hearing. Then the ZBA has 40 days after the close of the public hearing to make a decision. So they can deliberate and decide. They'll probably won't take that long, but they have that. That's the most. And then we have 14 days to file the decision. So the ZBA, if you read 40B, it's like any permit. They can, make conditions, they can deny, but as we all know, when it goes to the state housing bank, they usually overrule it. But I think it's, within the bounds of the town to make reasonable conditions once we see what they propose. And, obviously we've expressed some issues with the property in terms of those cars backing out. Obviously they want to put as much in there as possible. We'd like to see it, fit in, whatever goes there, fit in with the town to a better degree. They should probably have some right to develop there. We're looking for a reasonable balance, I think, from the town's perspective. I know there are people who would rather nothing happen there, and I believe that there's some negotiations going on that side, but we just have to deal with what we're dealt. So that's the timeline. So it ends up being 2/3 of a year, but really if our deadline for comments is the 9th, you'd think they would consider those and take some time. Maybe there'd be a big back and forth, but we found before there wasn't a lot of back and forth. So I would say, as early as mid-March, we might have to have a public hearing to start that public hearing process. And then we have, 180 days, so 6 months to conduct the public hearing, but that doesn't mean it'll take that long. But I think it will take a while because we'll open it and we'll ask for peer reviews, I think at least of traffic and probably wastewater. And the applicant has to pay for that.
The annual State of the Waters report, released last Wednesday by the Association to Preserve Cape Cod, revealed that 90% of Cape Cod's bays and more than 1/3 of its ponds have unacceptable water quality. This pollution caused by excess nitrogen and phosphorus is attributed to lawn fertilizer, storm water runoff, and untreated wastewater from septic systems. Compared to last year's report, the number of unacceptable bays and ponds is almost identical, meaning we have yet to see results from new state-regulated anti-pollution measures. Andrew Galtalib, executive director of the Association to Preserve Cape Cod, says, quote, over $500 million of wastewater project management are going before Cape Cod town meetings in the spring of 2024, that's a tangible reflection of how much things have changed and how we're on the precipice of making things better. The proposed changes to Barnstable's dog control regulations presented in October called for prohibiting dog walking on public bathing beaches earlier in the season, starting the ban on April 1st rather than May 15th. However, after opening the public comment period and receiving feedback about how valuable that time is to dog owners, Town Manager Mark Ells announced in his most recent report that the pre-existing ban from May 15th to September 15th will remain. A new clause, however, was added, allowing town officials to close sections of the beaches to dogs at any time for public health and safety reasons, as well as the protection of endangered species and natural resources. To learn more about these modified regulations, visit the Marine and Environmental Affairs page on the Town of Barnstable's website at town.barnstable.ma.us. Have you ever been affected by the opioid use disorder? The Town of Barnstable is hosting an opioid settlement funds workshop to discuss how to best utilize funds allocated to address the opioid epidemic in Barnstable. These facilitated conversations aim to identify needs specific to this community that will help guide future spending of opioid settlement funds. This meeting will be on Tuesday, January 30th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. in the Barnstable High School Junior and Senior Cafeteria. Interpreters will be available for Portuguese and Spanish speakers, and childcare will also be available if needed. Coming up after the break, Yarmouth Wastewater update. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. Yarmouth Public Works Director Jeff Colby, along with the Water and Wastewater Superintendent Lori Rizzula, gave an update on Yarmouth's wastewater construction project at the Select Board meeting this week. During the meeting, it was revealed that due to the DEP's regulations, the proposed Buck Island wastewater treatment facility would only be able to handle 10% of its original projected flow. This would leave the town unprepared for future phases and sparked some major concern among Select Board members. Take a look.
You've indicated that the DEP, I'm contract one, that the DEP says that Buck Island cannot handle how much you want to put there. How much do they need to put elsewhere? 50% of the projected flow? 25% of the projected flow? How much? Have they come up with what they think you're going to need?
These are why we're meeting regularly to determine this. They've indicated that closer to 10% of the flow that we need would be what they would be comfortable approving at the Buck Island Road site. But it's part of negotiations. We're hopeful that we might get a larger percentage out of that if we identify some other sites and other considerations for them to look at. But it's that's probably closer to the percentage we're looking at of what we need in phase one.
Okay, one clarification. The Buck Island site can only handle 10% of what was originally proposed, so 90% has to go elsewhere? Did I understand that correctly?
Those are the ranges we're talking about. We're hopeful that they'll be able to allow us a little bit of increased percentage at the Buck Island Road site, but as of our most recent meeting with them, it's been closer to 10% that they said they're comfortable with at this time. We have to prove, that we can do more, but at this time they're closer to 10% of what we need.
When you hear that the amount of discharge they're comfortable with at the Buck Island site is roughly 10% of the projected flow, I mean, that should throw up a major league red flag for not just our overall program, but for this project. I think, quite frankly, this project is in jeopardy.
So you're saying that the land mass basically that we have available to us in town could only take us through, as it stands now with DEP, probably phase 2 or 3? We never make it up to like because everything we've presented to the town, from my perspective, has been showing them the big picture, the total. But it sounds like now we're going to have to go back to the town and say, you know what? You know how we said the 8 phases and we had it all figured out? We are only going to have the first 3 figured out, and then we're just going to be kind of hanging there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about, that we're going to be hanging there with, what do we do now for the rest of the town?
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair assessment, is that there's probably other sites that could handle a couple of phases, but we certainly don't have enough to identify all the 8 phases.
The town of Barnstable is inviting local civic associations and nonprofit organizations to apply for a 2024 Tourism Mini Grant. The grant program is designed to support the 7 villages' new and existing events that promote tourism to the town of Barnstable. Off-season events are particularly encouraged and prioritized to draw visitors outside of the tourist season. Grants up to $1,000 per applicant are available and require 1-to-1 matching funds, with a total of $9,000 available in funding. Applications must be submitted to the town of Barnstable before 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, February 29th. Grants will be awarded by March 31st. To apply, please visit businessbarnstable.com. For more information on the grant program, contact Community and Economic Development Planner Kyle Petticini by calling 774-487-1246. A new study by the finance company Sofi identified Barnstable as the country's happiest place to retire. Sofi assessed key elements that contribute to happiness in retirement in 200 metropolitan areas, such as community and social networks, cost of living, and overall health and healthcare access. The data shows that Barnstable has the highest overall ranking for community well-being and one of the highest percentages of residents over 65. Though it's at the top of the Sofi list, the analysis also revealed areas where Barnstable falls short. With the median household income being just over $90,000, the cost of living in Barnstable is much higher than other cities on the list. Barnstable also ranked lower in healthcare and transportation access. As well as being ranked number 1 overall, the town was also ranked number 1 for social well-being, with plenty of 65-plus peers and retirement activities. Right behind Barnstable on the list is Naples, Florida, Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Durham, North Carolina. The Massachusetts Audubon Society has found that piping plovers are making a historic comeback. According to their research, more piping plovers nested on the Cape beaches last year than in the past 40 years. Lyra Brennan, director of the Massachusetts Audubon Coastal Water Board program, described it as a testament to how organized conservation efforts can make a huge difference. Piping plovers were listed as a threatened species in 1986, when the number of mating pairs dropped to a whopping 135 in the state. Now the number of pairs is over 1,100, which is a 500% increase since the conservation program began. Cape Cod beaches are crucial in this restoration process, with the most nesting pairs found at Monomoy National Wildlife Refuge and South Beach in Chatham. A reminder that if you see the sections of beaches blocked off with fencing and signage, do not disturb. Nesting plovers will often abandon their nests if there's too much activity in the area. Brennan congratulated the state and the town's restoration efforts, saying, quote, "We can bring threatened species back from the brink of disappearance if we are willing to make the long-term investments necessary for success." Coming up after the break, the grand opening of the Dennis Center for Active Living. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. From thrilling hockey matchups to intense basketball showdowns, Get ready for an exciting roundup of last week's sport action. Plus, stay tuned for updates on the Cape Cod Baseball League. Here's Ryan Downs with more.
Thanks, Lauren. This past Saturday, the 20th, Nauset boys hockey traveled to the Kennedy Rink in Hyannis to take on Barnstable. Nauset jumped on them early and never looked back. By the end of the second period, the score was 5-1 Nauset. Barnstable shaped up in the third and managed to net another 2 goals, but it was too little too late as Nauset finished the game with an empty net goal and a final score of 6-3. The Nauset boys improved to a 9-1-1 record. There was some exciting action on the basketball courts this past week as Dennis Yarmouth faced off against Barnstable. The games were originally scheduled for last Friday, January 19th, but were postponed due to weather. The girls' varsity game took place on Saturday the 20th. In a matchup between the top 2 teams in the Cape and Islands League, the DY Lady Dolphins emerged victorious with a score of 60-37. DY's Chloe Azoff was the game's leading scorer with 31 points. The win propels DY to an impressive 7-2 record for the season and helps maintain their lead in the league. And on Monday the 22nd, the boys' varsity contest went into overtime, where DY was able to pull off a remarkable comeback. They overcame a 14-point deficit in the fourth quarter to send it to overtime, where they eventually secured a 71-66 victory. DY went on a 23-2 run between the fourth quarter and overtime. Julian Cash led the Dolphins with 20 points, and Trey McPherson added 14. The Massachusetts High School Football Coaches Association has released the roster for the All-State and Divisional All-Star teams. The Division II All-Stars include Barnstable seniors Tajardo France and Eric Lavelle, with honorable mentions going to seniors Mauricio Duran and Aiden Kundal. Barnstable entered the playoffs with a 7-1 record in the Cape and Islands League Championship. They made it to the MIAA Division II Final Four and finished their season with a victory on Thanksgiving, capping a 10-2 record. Just one district over in Dennis Yarmouth, junior quarterback Jaden Barber was listed as a Division IV All-Star. Despite a regular season record of 6-2, the Dolphins faced an early playoff exit. However, they bounced back with a win on Thanksgiving, finishing the season strong at 7-3. Jaden Barber wrapped up his junior year with 186 completions on 301 attempts, amassing 2,800 yards and an impressive 32 touchdowns. Adding to his versatility, Barber also rushed for 600 yards and an additional 6 touchdowns. Both the Nauset boys and DY girls in winter track and field have concluded their regular seasons with a flawless record of 6-0. Not only did they secure perfect records, but they also claimed the titles of Cape and Island League champions. In their latest matchup, the Nauset boys beat Barnstable 53-46, and the DY girls track team against Martha's Vineyard finished with the score of 75-25. The Cape and Islands League will have a final meet with all teams competing scheduled for Sunday, February 4th. Last Tuesday, the 16th, John Castleberry was officially named the commissioner of the Cape Cod Baseball League. Castleberry is the 14th commissioner in the history of the Cape League. His involvement in the Cape League started as a manager of Orleans from 1984 through 1991. And in 1986, he was named Cape League Manager of the Year and led Orleans to their 8th Cape League championship in franchise history. Castleberry has since remained an advisor to the Cape League while pursuing an extensive career in baseball. And in other Cape Cod Baseball League related news, Todd Helton was voted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame this past Tuesday. The induction ceremony will take place on July 21st, making him the 6th Cape Cod Baseball League alumni to forever be enshrined in the Hall of Fame. Helton played for the Orleans Firebirds in 1994 and even won the Home Run Derby contest that summer. That's it for the sports update this week, Lauren. Back to you.
The town of Dennis celebrated the grand opening of the newly renovated Center for Active Living this week, inviting the community to come tour the new facility. The ribbon-cutting ceremony marks the end of a project that has been over a decade in the making. And our very own Cape Media News was there to capture the excitement.
The decal is just such a fabulous spot that we have in Dennis. And I'm just so pleased to be able to say that I have been a member for quite a few years and have been taking advantage of lots of the things they offer. They offer so many activities.
The beauty of having the whole building now fully operational is that we can bring in a number of programs, groups, initiatives that we haven't been able to in the last few years because we've been either adding an addition or renovating the older part of the building. So it's been a real juggling act to do scheduling for spaces and things like that. I think we'll have a better spread of space for all to accommodate a lot of the groups and programs that we offer here.
I can remember when I first came on the board, 10 years ago. Shortly after that, we toured the facility that was here, and it was atrocious. Almost hard to believe the condition of it. Now that has nothing to do with the people who built this building. It was just the age of it, and really part of the town's problem of not really taking care of it. So it was a long time coming, and today was just a magnificent day for everybody. We had an overwhelming crowd here. We must have had over 200 people here.
I think it's really important to start with the name, right? The Dennis Center for Active Living. So we've transitioned from the Dennis Senior Center. This is really a community building. And you can tell that just by the sheer volume of people who showed up today. I knew that this is going to be well attended when I got into the parking lot and there was nowhere to park, right? And I feel like that's what's so special about this building and why it had such strong support from town voters is because we were really looking for a building where people could recreate, could socialize, could come together, and provide, wraparound human services too. So,
I think as a society and as a community, we should be judged on supporting, supporting people at the beginning of life and later in life as well, the most vulnerable in our community, those who served, and the Dennis Active Living Center here really exemplifies that, right? It looks quite nice from the street, and then you start going to the building, and gosh, this place is just loaded with amenities.
This project predates me. I've been here for 9 years, and this has been a legacy project for the town. Very important pillar of the community for our seniors. So it was definitely a journey to get here with a lot of different funding sources acquired through. It took multiple town meetings to get the project fully funded. But we're very excited to have the two wings formally connected and joined and have folks able to come in here and utilize. We have been running programs in the space, but now we'll be able to fully use the building in its entirety. And, on days like this, when it's snowy and rainy, it's a great place to come and enjoy for the Dennis community.
Having this building fully operational will allow people to have more opportunities. Their day program now is up and running. I think they're going to have more opportunities in their day program. I think having a vibrant center that people can go and they can get the support they need in their own community, the local community, is so important to the families that we all serve here on Cape Cod.
Just by seeing the number of people here today, I can see that it's going to be an active center for active living. So kudos to the town, kudos to the select board, council on aging, all the groups that have been mentioned already for all they've done to support this. It's a wonderful new facility. This looks like a great room for a town hall meeting, maybe, or office hours. So I know it'll get well used by our 3 offices. I know Joe Pacheco is here from the county as well.
I think it's always important to invest in social and human services, have a place that's safe and comfortable for the community to go to. I think they did an absolutely phenomenal job. I think the future is extremely bright here in Dennis, and the county is happy to continue to have a long, lively, and successful partnership with the town and the Dennis Center for Active Living.
Congressman couldn't be here today, but he did prepare a congressional citation that I'd like to present to, maybe I'll present it to Elizabeth on behalf of the town, or John if you want to come up. Anyone wants to be in the picture. It's presented to the Dennis Council on Aging in recognition of the grand opening of the Dennis Center for Active Living, signed this 24th day of January 2024 by Congressman William R. Keating. So congratulations and thank you all.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. Thank you very, very much.
You know, the average age in our town, you know, is up there. And we need a place that, you know, people can call home away from home. And I think that that is what this building will be.
Thank you for joining us this evening. If you have a story you'd like to see us cover, send us an email at newstip@capemedia.org. Tune in every week for hyperlocal news that matters on Channel 26, Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media, including Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. For Cape Media News, as always, I'm Lauren Williamson.